shit nearly killed me. It nearly killed me once, so let me just stick to what I know. Kajemo. Kajemo nimekaleta home. Hi, James.
How did she squeeze in them jeans? Big behind her petite waist. Take time with the GBG, we don't beef nobody like GBK. Woke up on the road side. My time, I'm wearing a Jesus piece.
Maman ne fait que m'embellir. Par la rampe, c'est le délit. J'ai chassé ma robe et j'ai sali. J'suis pas Dion, mais j'm'habille en style. Dion, en star full, là, j'fais des péchés, j'suis sous belle.
Let's go. She wants the info. She do. I want to talk about crypto.
Avec toi, y'a ta go qui veut que j'en veux. Comme il faut que ça pour les mains. J'ai besoin de personne avec moi que père de gosse. Gros cul roi, t'es mal à taille, les gars qui crient splash. Et que les gars pour mes filles. Père de 1, gros cul roi, t'es mal à taille, la big wax. Cette chambre veut porter ma postage de la châtelle, puis je next. Je veux sacrer ton bif. Père de 1, gros cul roi. T'es mal à taille, la big wax.
Paka akitoka, panya anatawala. Mtajuaje bwana yangu he's out of the country?
You see when you have been over and you're touchdown. When you want to be real, I can't read up down. So it's you on calling and you want to be. So it's you on calling
Nachbar, Prost Leute.
I hate this one.
You hate Jameson? Gemma. Hi, you lovely person. There's something I just wanted to put out there. I just thought, you know what? I don't know who needs to hear this. Maybe only one person needs to hear this, but as long as I put it out there, there's a chance that the message reaches them. I'll just let the universe do the rest, because I realize that every time you put something out there, it's an energy you're sending. And so I was just like thinking generally about how we evolve as people in our lives. And I thought, let me just say this out loud, and may it reach whoever needed to hear it. Whoever person needed to hear this, may it reach them and may it bless their lives. One of the ways you can know that you are becoming a better person is when you no longer feel comfortable in certain spaces. When your presence does not feel at home in certain rooms. When certain people who you used to be like cozy, you would cozy up to them, they were comfortable to be around. When they suddenly start feeling like strangers, that is a huge indicator of growth. I have seen it myself in my life. Now, as a Kenyan living in Austria, I do go back home from time to time. Like, I love home. I love visiting my city, Nairobi. I think there's no party better than a Nairobi party. Like, the people at home, they really know how to get down, you all. So, I'm the kind of person who travels back and forth from the West to the African continent, and most specifically, my home, Kenya. One of the things that I have started to notice in recent years is that I have nothing in common with people who previously I had not noticed were abnormal. Like, I think sometimes you just have to get out of the frame, get out of the picture, have a bird's eye view for you to notice who was surrounding you. Some people I'm still cool with, and I always look for them when I'm home. And then some people, and for whatever reason, it's mostly people I'm related to by blood, I am starting to realize I feel like they are strangers whenever we are alone. They are literally abnormal. There's people who are clinically insane, but for whatever reason, I used to hang out with them and I never noticed it. But then when you grow as a person, when you have that growth, I guess internet lingo, people call it leveling up. When you just make certain changes in your life, you just don't blend in well with certain rooms, certain places, certain spaces that you used to occupy comfortably. And I've come to realize that's okay, because it means you've reached a certain point where you are more at peace, where you are more confident in yourself, where you are more at ease, and you are learning how to say no, and you are setting up boundaries. And people who don't know you like that, they don't know you to have boundaries, they don't know you to say no, they then cannot stand you, and this is why they start to feel like strangers. I told this story on one of my past videos where some chick I used to hang out with while I was still living at home permanently, she tried to get me to jump someone. Like, she literally tried to get me to go beat someone up now, like in recent years now, when I'm a married woman. When the last time I got into a physical fight must have been over 10 years ago. But she literally got upset that I would not go with her to go beat someone up. And I was like, yo, I mean, how many years haven't, like, we've not seen one another in years, and you think that I'm still the same old, same old? I mean, yes, I am still me, but like, I've grown up. Like, there's a point that you reach in your life where some old habits you have to let go of. And I'm ashamed actually to say that I used to physically fight a lot. I think when you grow up in the hood, you just have to know how to fight. And then somebody tries to get you to jump someone in your 30s. Girl, I did that as a teenager and in my early 20s. And when I said no, she was offended. She just went like, hey, umekuwa na maringo. Wes, atushasikilizana. Aki, by the way, uko na maringo. Which is just Swahili for like, you're conceited, you've changed. No, I haven't changed. I've grown up. And I've reached a place where I can say no to certain things that do not benefit me. I've reached a place where I can have barriers. And people who thought there's no way you could learn how to establish barriers, they then get offended when you actually have barriers. So whoever needs to hear this, I want you to know that you're not crazy when you don't fit in with certain people anymore. When certain rooms that used to feel very familiar are now feeling very unfamiliar. When certain people who you used to cozy up to are now literally strangers. It's okay. That is a sign of growth. That is how we grow. There is nothing wrong with you. Do not let anybody convince you otherwise. Change is inevitable. In life, you have got to evolve. You either change or change changes you. Again, change is inevitable. I'm just surprised that certain people remain the same all year round, all seasons. And I'm not here to judge anybody, but I think they should just be able to accept that some people grow, right? And some people just embrace change. And I guess that's just the food for thought that I wanted to put out there.
dort für das zum Schneckenbau.
Okay.
Geht leider aus.
Also da macht es einfach die
Was für Sortiment haben wir?
Danke dir.
Weil das ist so einfach alles so mit Gurt und die wollen wir noch so ganz vielleicht heute nichts.
Nicht ganz, ja.
Hello. It's not open. So. Okay. I'll just take a picture and I'll go. I'm going to order a Christmas drink. It's the festive season again. Hello, you lovely person, and thank you so much for clicking on yet another video. I'm seated in my bedroom, and outside it's beginning to look like Christmas. I couldn't sing to save my own life. It's starting to look Christmassy. It's only a month to Christmas. Out here in many European countries, they celebrate Christmas on the 24th of December. Back at home in Kenya, we used to celebrate on the 25th of December. And that mountain sometimes is completely covered in snow. Right now, I don't know if you can see, it's only the top that is starting to be covered by snow. My neighbor's terrace the other day was just covered in snow. Like the whole terrace just had snow. And my balcony on this other side, not the kitchen side, on the side where my corridor is at, was also full of snow. I love how it looks. I don't like how it feels. It's very cold outside. But being an African, I make sure that I warm up my house. This is why I can wear something like this, because my house is literally too hot for locals. Whenever my hubby or his family comes over, they're usually like, turn off the heaters. We are sweating bullets in this house. It's normally too hot. But I'm an African. We are not used to such extreme weather. So I just have to heat up the house, honey. I feel sometimes when I sit in my bedroom, I feel like this neighbor is looking into, I think I've said this on several videos of mine. They're looking at me, they're looking into my bedroom even as I sleep. You creep! Okay. Let me cut out the drama. He's probably minding his own business at his house. Maybe I'm the one who's too concerned with him. I can't see him, but the lights are on. There's a man who lives right across from my bedroom window. Like from his bedroom, he sees my bedroom like directly. Sometimes I just feel like, well, unaniangalia wewe. Actually, I'm the one looking at his house. Let me stop. Welcome to yet another video. By the way, the former police boss of the whole of Austria, whose name will remain withheld, he's not the immediate former. He used to be, I don't want to say his name. His house is that one over there. On camera, I don't know if I can point it. Do you see? But there's a reflection from my phone. Like his house from my bedroom, I see his house. There's a flag there, the Austrian flag, right outside his house. And his entry is at the back, although he can also enter from the front. And that's a former police boss of Austria, not of my town, of the whole of Austria. He's a rather popular politician in Europe. And sometimes I sit and I'm like, how did I become neighbors with the who's who? I just googled it in Dutch. In German, you say Innenminister, which is like the interior minister. And at some point, he was the police commissioner. He was the boss of the whole police unit in Austria. Again, I don't want to say his name, but that's his house right there. And right outside his house, there's like the Austrian flag. What is it like coming from my background and then finding myself in certain rooms where I do not belong? I put that in quotes because you are who you say you are what you think you are. If you decide that you belong somewhere, then you belong. If you decide that, there's a saying, if you think you can or you think you cannot, either way, you're right. I don't know who said that. I'll just write it on the screen. But like, how is it being in rooms that normally you should not be in based on your background, where you grew up, how you grew up? Like, for me, I normally say I grew up just fine. We weren't necessarily rich, but in our area, lower middle class, we were what is called hood rich. Like, yeah, we were in the hood, but we were like the people who are better off than most people in my neighborhood, for instance, in Pangani, and before that in Isli, because I grew up with a local politician, nothing major, just in our local area, local politician for a dad. and he happened to have a lot of investments by the time, you know, I was coming along. So I grew up in private schools, and I had a pretty comfortable childhood as well as smooth adulthood. Like, my transition was basically smooth. So because of that, I wouldn't really complain. I wouldn't say that I grew up poor, or even, you know, I grew up with certain privileges that my peers did not have. Again, in the hood, we call it hood rich. Like, yeah, you people are middle class, but you're like the ghetto princess, nyindo kusema. My dad used to have, like, you know, in Kenya, having a car is a luxury. At some point he had 3, and like, he had in Nairobi, which is the capital city where I grew up, he had property there, like real estate. He still does. So we never really struggled. But still, there's this imposter syndrome that I get, or that one gets, when you come out to a nation where, you know, it's not a struggling nation, it's a first world country, and then you find yourself mingling with certain people who are doing well for themselves thanks to maybe your job. For me, it's thanks to my husband and his job. So how do I beat that imposter syndrome? First of all, imposter syndrome is real. Let me just explain what imposter syndrome is on this next clip.
Make a status shift as you move upwards. Of course you have imposter syndrome, because when you first make a transition into a new role, you are an imposter because you're a beginner. You don't know what you're doing. And that doesn't mean you're a liar or a fake. And it doesn't mean you should presume more knowledge than you have. Every great man is an actor of his own ideal. That feeds into the imposter syndrome in some sense. If you want to move to the next stage, at some point you have to act like you're already there when you're just barely started.
Do not let people think you do not belong. Because I promise you, once you sit at these tables, at these fancy places, with folks with fancy titles, and they got a big bank account, and you talk to them, and you go, oh,
Yeah.
they ain't all that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
This idea that somehow they are so special, they're so smart, they're so sophisticated, not really. They've been exposed. They've been given the confidence of feeling like they belong. But if you sit down and talk to them, turns out they just folk,
Yep, normal people.
normal people.
Yeah.
One of the ways that you can beat imposter syndrome is just by focusing on the facts and not your feelings. It doesn't matter how you feel. You feel like, oh, I can't go in there and talk to these people because they are so out of my league. That is your feelings. The facts might, and most of the time, beg to differ. Let's say you've been elected in a position which you think you don't belong in. Let's say you've been elected member of parliament, and you go in there and you're like, oh my God, I am such a phony. I am an imposter. I do not belong here with all these important people. That is your feelings. That is how you feel. But the facts beg to differ. You are the member of parliament. So once you just dwell on the facts, like for me, sometimes my hubby would like introduce me to certain people, and I'm like, oh my God, that's like a big CEO who's seated at our table. How do I go and sit there? I don't belong. You know me, I'm from a developing nation. What am I, a phony? I can't sit with this. Those are just feelings. The facts remain that you are married to this guy, and as people introduce their spouses, he has to introduce you too. One time I also had very bad imposter syndrome when my now late father-in-law, when my father-in-law passed on, and the governor of Upper Austria was one of the dignitaries at his funeral, because he was a sportsman right here in Austria. He was a footballer and he was well known. So there were a lot of dignitaries at his funeral, and my hubby and the brothers of my hubby were going to walk behind some of the politicians during the burial, and it was actually in the newspapers. And I felt like, I will also walk next to you. You see, like you feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? First, I'm the only black person here. Secondly, these people have money, I don't have that kind of money. Sadly, I didn't grow up here, I didn't go to school here. These are supposed to be, you know, very important people, and I have to work. You see, those were only my feelings confusing me at that moment, but the facts begged to differ. The fact that his brothers have their wives means that he has to have me there with him. Of course, everybody was staring, because when you look different and everybody else looks the same, you're going to grab a lot of their attention. But you see, it doesn't matter how you feel. If you belong, you belong. The facts will differ. Let's say you're a young lady and you have just gotten a new job as head of department for, I don't know, a bunch of scientists at NASA. There's something important you've gotten there, and you're their new boss. As you're going into your workstation, you might be feeling like, what am I doing here? I'm an imposter, I'm a phony. This is not me. I grew up pretty normal. I didn't go to the best universities. Now I'm going to be a boss of people who went to Harvard and better universities than mine. Oh my God, I can't do this. Oh my God. Imposter syndrome in the form of feelings and fear. Remember, those are only feelings. Those are only feelings. The facts beg to differ. You are the head of the department, so you must be there. Whether people like it or not, the facts are the facts. So I think one of the ways you can beat imposter syndrome is by focusing on the facts. Another way you can beat imposter syndrome is by talking positively to yourself. You have to get rid of all the negative talk. Like talking to yourself, you know, people always have these opinions of themselves, I guess. Although I read on the internet that some people don't have what is it called? Some people don't have what is it called to have an inner voice. I read on the internet and I was so shocked. I think I'll write the statistics here. There are people who just live life living. They don't talk to themselves in their head. You know, you don't have to talk out loud to yourself, even though sometimes I catch myself talking out loud to myself. You don't have to talk out loud to yourself. But I mean, you have to have an opinion of yourself, of what you're going to do today, tomorrow, plan your day. You know, there's that inner dialogue, right? Inner dialogue. I read that some people don't have that. So it's like, wow, NPC match. So you're just living your life like what? This rag? You're just living your life like the pillow? Wow. Anyways, who am I to judge? Most of us have an inner dialogue. So in that inner dialogue, you need to start talking strength to yourself, talking positivity to yourself, believing that, you know, you are capable, everything is okay, you can do it. You have to like be motivational to yourself and stop putting yourself down. If it starts up here, eventually it will come out through here. Even when you're talking to others, you will tell them only positive things about your plans and also about them and so on and so forth. You will not, if up here it's all negative, that's all that will come out from here. So I think one of the other ways you can beat imposter syndrome is by talking positively and thinking positively and highly of your own self. Improve your self-esteem and everything else will follow. Do not talk down on yourself and expect that the world will build you up. Talk highly of yourself, so when the world tries to beat you down, you already know who you are, you already know what you want, and you have your chin up, and you always sit up straight, and you always look people in the eye. That is one of the ways you can beat imposter syndrome. Feeling like, oh, I don't belong, these people, they're better than me, I cannot do it. I think another way you can beat imposter syndrome is by, wow, it got so dark so quickly. Another way you can beat imposter syndrome is by documenting your success. That's what I always do. If I have goals, if I have aims, as soon as I reach those goals, I have like my to-do list, I tick it. I document how I reached it, and then I move on to the next one. I tick it as I go. That puts me in a headspace that tells me that, yes, I can do it. I did it, so I can just do this also. I can do this as well. And if I need to do this again, I can do it because I did it the first time. So you have to just document your success and see who you are on paper. Like, look at yourself from another, from a bird's view angle, and you'll realize that, hey, actually I do get things done. I do have a plan for my life. I do get things. And when you fall, get up quickly. Don't dwell there, and get better and better and better every single day. That is yet another way you can beat imposter syndrome. So just to summarize this video, I get it. I'm a girl from the hood. I grew up pretty, like I said, middle class. Some might even argue lower middle class. And then I found myself traveling and in circles where I do not belong. And there's this feeling of like, what am I doing here? Who are these people? Are they going to accept me? Oh my God, they can see right through me. They can see I'm a phony. I don't belong here. That is only your programming talking, right? You've been programmed to think of yourself according to the environment that you are always in, that comfort zone, and not to think more of yourself. That is only your programming talking, but you can always deprogram and reprogram yourself. You can always decide that actually the world does not define me, I define me. I say what rooms I belong in. I say what I would like to have in my life, and I work towards it. I'm the one who defines me. Once you think that way and you think positively, you document what you've already achieved, you encourage yourself, you have an inner dialogue that is positive, and you also go by the facts. So like my example at the church ceremony where there were all these dignitaries and we were burying my late father-in-law, and I was like, hey, oh my gosh, who are these people? And I was telling my husband, do I also walk with you? And he was like, yeah, of course, my siblings are working with their spouses, so you have to be one of the, and I was like, I'm the only black person here, and I know these people from like TV and the newspaper in Austria. How can I be amongst you? The facts beg to differ. The facts are that I'm his legal wife, so I have to be there. So you have to shut down your feelings when that imposter syndrome is hitting you hard, like, you funny, you don't belong. Again, the example I gave of maybe a lady who's been elected a CEO of like a facility. You've been elected and you're like the head of department, and then you go in there thinking, oh, but everybody here is from Harvard and I'm not, and what, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so small, I'm a nobody. Look at the facts. They might be from the best universities, but right now you're going to be their boss. So go with the facts and trust in yourself. There's a reason why you were put in that position. So sit on your throne, queen. Put on your tiara a little neater and march forward positively. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope I helped you even just a little bit with your imposter syndrome. I wish you all the best. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to do so. Gosh, in winter, it gets dark from 1 minute to the next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.